Hey, this is Cameron. Welcome back to the Busy Gardener channel. Today we are going to be looking at a good family friend of ours who live up in Sacramento, Northern California. We got a whole orchard and garden. We're gonna go check it out. Let's get busy. So I believe that everybody should be able to plant good and healthy vegetables and fruits in their garden, in their orchard, and that's what this channel exists for. And so I'm always excited when I can go somewhere else and see how somebody else is doing this sort of thing. So we're on a family trip right now and visiting some old family friends of ours, and they live just outside of Sacramento, California. And I wanted to see, how does stuff grow up here in this different climate? What types of things are they growing? What types of methods are they using? Interestingly, the person who we're visiting this home, he's the one who tipped me off to making sure that my boysenberries and blackberries and all that stuff didn't get grown up against a fence, because that ends up being a real problem. He, I think, was originally a plant pathologist, and so he's got a real deep dive understanding of how these plants work. And so I was here picking his brain a little earlier, and I want to share with you some of the things that I saw. So behind me here is this gorgeous grapevine. This is right up against their property line. So as you come in from the street, you see this beautiful, these grapevines here. And look at the beautiful crops that they've got. Let me taste one of these. I don't quite know what type this is. Man, those are sweet. So good. I'm surprised that my kids didn't find these yet. They're worse than the birds, my kids. He mentioned that there are a couple of different types of grapes. It turns out the grapes grow on the current year's growth. And there are two kinds. There's one that's a spur pruned type, and the other is a cane pruned type. I don't have any grapes currently in my place, so it's a lot of fun to come out and be able to pick some grapes straight off the grapevine. Really tasty. Still eating grapes. One of the things that he's got maybe about a dozen of are these olive trees. And we actually have a couple of olive trees. We just never really featured them in the video, partly because the fruit has always been infested with these little worms. And so I asked him, I said, how do you deal with that stuff? And he uses an organic spray that generally gives some decent results. He's using this stuff called spinosad, which is an organic type of spray that you go through and just kind of spray through here. And so I'm going to try that next year, a little bit earlier in the season, so that way I'm able to get some results, and that way hopefully in a couple of years we'll have a good crop that doesn't have a bunch of worms going through it. More grapes, so good. Behind me he has another grapevine, and these are different. These are like I think he said it's a mix between a Thompson seedless and something else. We were just eating these earlier. In fact, we pulled off a giant bunch of them, almost like berries. They're always hiding under there. I wish I could show you some. Let me look for some. I like seedless grapes. Sometimes it can taste so bitter. It's always nice to get some that are sweet, flavorful, firm. I like them when they're firm and no seeds. I'm always curious to see how climate and a certain geographic area impacts the type of stuff that can be grown. And as Tim was walking me through here earlier, it was evident that we in Southern California can grow a lot of the same stuff that they can up here. He has, believe it or not, even some citrus, but he's more easily able to grow some of those stone fruits. So I haven't looked, and he wasn't quite sure of exactly how many chill hours they have. Because I noticed there was like a fruited Honeycrisp apple, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I always like to see how other people are doing stuff. How are they mounting stuff up? And so, yeah, really cool. Let's go look at some of these trees. Right here is this pluot. He wasn't, it's kind of interesting. He's not all as concerned about which kinds these are. He's like, oh, this is a pluot. Here's an apium. It turns out this is a Flavor Delight apium, this little one next to me here. I think this is actually the same one as this larger apium right here. Apium are wonderful. They're mostly apricot with some plum parentage, and very, very tasty, but mostly apricot. Next to that, you notice he's got a cherry tree here. And you can see the pruning cuts. See that there's a pruning cut here. He's got pruning cuts here. his pruning style is like what I use, and that's the one advocated by like Dave Wilson Nursery, and that's that backyard orchard culture where you're pruning really no higher than you can reach. And so you'll notice all that stuff that's going up high is all of this year's growth. But he's going to come through and prune a bunch of this stuff off so that it doesn't get too tall. Here's like an ingenious little thing I want to show you in terms of shade cloth. Now these here are raspberries, and raspberries, he was saying, are very, very sensitive to heat. The plants themselves get stressed, the fruit itself can get fried sometimes. And so he's using a very like 30% shade cloth. And so that means it's gonna shade 30% of the sun out. And what he's done with this ingenious thing is on top of his 2-line trellis system here, he has that attached to these PVC pipes. So when they're not in use, he just rolls them up. But when he wants to use them, he just deploys them by rolling them over. I'll show you one that he has rolled up here. And so you get the idea that you just kind of drape it over as long as you want. So you better believe I'm going to be trying this when I get home. So he's like me. He's tired of birds getting his fruit. And so he took this Honeycrisp and he has it covered with some bird net. But look at all of the fruit that he has on here. My trees never get, or at least the apple trees, with the exception of the low chill varieties like Anna and Dorset Golden, I've not ever seen this kind of fruit set on one of ours. And so even though we have a Honeycrisp, his has got way more action going on. This is a lot of fun. Look at these pomegranates. So he's got a few different types. One is the Eversweet, which I actually think is probably this one. The outside of the fruit, you notice how pale that is. And this is the one that the juice and the arils inside are very, very light colored, very mild flavor. It's tasty and sweet. But over there, he's got a couple others. One is a Wonderful, which is kind of the main commercial variety. And he has another one that he says has a dark color. He doesn't remember exactly which one. That's a lot of them have that. So beautiful pomegranates. Over there behind the pomegranates, he's got another Pluot. Again, it's one of the flavor line of Pluots. A Zager original, no doubt. I think this here is an Aprium. Again, notice how everything is pruned to where you can reach. This is really, really helpful so you don't ever have to get on a ladder and fall down. This one is fun. I want to show you guys. I've never actually seen a tree of this, but I knew what it was the second I saw it. Let me show you closely. This tree is a Pluot, and they call this Dappled Dandy Pluot. You notice how it's got this dappled look on its skin? See how it's got all these little spots everywhere? Sometimes they'll call these in the store, they'll call them dinosaur eggs because they just have such a unique look to them. Isn't that interesting? Very, very flavorful, very tasty. So one of the older Pluots, one of the original ones that was done, but so neat to see this thing fruiting out in the wild in somebody's orchard. So we didn't actually look at this earlier. I think this is some sort of peach or nectarine. Oh, here's a sign right here. Arctic Star, white nectarine. We have an Arctic Star. How fun. So you've seen ours. This must be a much newer planting, as ours is humongous. This probably was planted maybe, if I were going to guess, maybe 2-3-year-old tree. Our 5-year-old tree is giant and way higher than I can ever reach. Well, this is kind of a neat look here. This is a multi-budded apple tree. So each branch of this tree is a different type of apple. And so this one, for example, is Fuji, and this has some Fuji fruit on the end of it. This is also Fuji, I guess. Over here is Jonah Gold. Oh, this is cool. These are types that, I don't remember if this is a russeted variety or not. Let's see what this middle one is here that's just loaded. It doesn't have a tag on it. What a shame. That one I think is a fourth one over there. Sorry, a third one. And this is the fourth over here. Gravenstein apple. And Gravenstein looks like it might be one of the more columnar types. And so this one, no, that's not it. Hold on. Yeah, Gravenstein doesn't have any fruit on it yet. This type of scenario is great. If somebody has truly room for just one tree, you can do something like this. You get successive ripening all on a single tree. You just let that thing grow, and each branch is a different type of apple. And so as this grows, you have still some of that variety. I still am a big fan of doing multiple planting instead of multi-budded like this, because I still think you can get away with having that small space, but still beautiful tree. Look at it loaded. I'd be happy to come out and pick off some fruit off of this. cherry trees. He doesn't need low chill ones. He can just plant real ones. Although we're really happy with our cherries too. They did really well and continue to. So not a real loss, but it's nice to just be able to plant whatever cherry you want. Something that Tom Spellman at David Wilson Nursery is always talking about, and that I've implemented, I'm always talking about it, and actually Tim here, whose home this is, was also talking about it, was their mulch layer. If you look down here, he has such a serious layer of mulch before the drip line even gets there. He says he just keeps asking and asking these, tree companies to just come and drop more and more mulch here because of what a wonderful effect it has on the soil. If you're not mulching, do it. Start mulching. You can find just getting a hold of your, tree trimming companies. They have to pay to get the stuff dumped otherwise. So asking them for a clean, one that doesn't have trash and that kind of stuff in it, have them come dump it, spread it around 4-6 inches even around your tree. And you're gonna really keep the dust down, keeps the weeds down, keeps the moisture in the ground, keeps your trees happy because the soil temps are stabilized. Mulch, mulch, mulch. I don't know if you can tell, but these pluots are humongous. This is almost the size of a baseball. It's just giant. Usually I'm used to seeing, plum type stuff being maybe the size of like a golf, like a ping pong ball or maybe a golf ball. This is like 4 times the size of a plum type fruit that I'm used to seeing. So I imagine these are really, really meaty. I'm really curious to just try one of these, see how close it is. So let's see. Oh my goodness. This tastes a lot like a Santa Rosa plum. Definitely tasting the plum parentage. Let's see if you can see the color in there. A beautiful blush that starts on the outside and goes toward the inside. This is already really sweet. Probably another week on this, or maybe even less, maybe a few days of this good sun. This is very ripe already, very tasty, but I can imagine it'll get even sweeter than this. All right, let's keep looking. Here he's got growing a brown turkey fig. And this fig is loaded with fruit. You see all those that are growing here? Something I learned recently, actually from Charles Malky, watching one of his videos, is like fig grow on current year's growth. I didn't know that. So it's almost like you can come through, prune the whole thing, and you'll end up with a ton of fruit on it. This was hanging off. Let me just try it. It's time for a scavenger hunt, they say. I'm eating a fig. He says there's a basket of treats at the end, though. I'm gonna have to go try. I'm eating all this fruit. I'm gonna be full. We've got a long drive ahead of us today, too, back down to SoCal. The final thing I want to show you while we're here are these amazing berry patches that they have here. Look at these Look at all these berry vines and canes. When I was talking to Tim, he was mentioning that he is really only staying with the thornless blackberries, and that makes a lot of sense when you're going through, both when you're harvesting and when you're when you're pruning them. Dealing with all those thorns, they'll just zap you every which way. I've experienced that with my boysenberry. And just getting thorny. I really appreciate Triple Crown Blackberry for that reason. And they have so many types and cultivars of blackberries that are not thorny. They're thornless, totally thornless. He mentioned sounds like he's got like 7 or 8 types of blackberries. And the reason, let me just show you this. Look how gorgeous that is. I don't know if you can see it. Let me get it. Let's try to get it. Maybe that's too close. Oh, well, you have to take my word for it. That thing is ripe. I need to find a few more. I'm going to show you the inside of this, and it's going to blow your mind. How many fruit he's got in here that are being protected by the shade cloth. But one of the things that he was saying that he wanted to do with choosing all these different varieties was to have several months of blackberry harvest. He's got some other stuff planted too. He's got a boysenberry because his wife loves boysenberries. He's got some others that are more just novelty or just trying out, like a white blackberry. Who's ever heard of that sort of thing? That sounds really interesting. I'd like to try it. But he's using the same method as I use in the orchard with the successive ripening. So he's got something that's available starting in May all the way through you know, I mean, we're going into August. So May to August having a bunch of berries is really something else. He's got some loganberries planted as well. Yeah, here are the triple crown blackberries. I got to tell you, in terms of how climate can make a difference and geography can make a difference, I don't know if you can see under there. Let me try to flip this around. Okay, so I put my thumb next to this for reference. That thing is as big as my thumb. These guys, look at the size of these berries. That's something that we do not see where we're at, is berries that are as large as these. These are really incredible and spectacular looking berries. And so I'm thinking that it's the geography that has to do with it, these triple crowns. That thing is like twice my thumb. I don't know if you can see that hiding under there, underneath this shade cloth. Berries, berries everywhere. Look at all these berries down here. Look, I just touch them and they fall off. These are so ripe. They're so juicy. Look at how gorgeous those are. And look at the size of those in relation to my hand. That's just 4 berries right there. It's an entire mouthful. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just gonna sit here all day and eat these. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode of The Busy Gardener, where we took a look at our friend's orchard and their garden, their granny garden, and the beautiful stuff that they got growing all around their property. What a lovely job they've done with this place. Yeah, really, it's always fun to go and see how other people are doing stuff. They've got different soil up here. They've got, like, you know, they're having to mound their stuff because their soil is heavy clay. They're doing stuff with these, you know, berries and how they're covering them. They've got their drip lines run here, which I've not even entirely looked at yet. And so, anyway, I hope you've appreciated and enjoyed seeing how somebody else has done some stuff. I know that I have, even just walking around here and sharing it with you. And, yeah, what questions have you got? Is there anything that you saw up here that you'd want some more information on? I didn't get to cover every single thing that I saw. I covered a lot of it, though. And yeah, anyway, I appreciate you tuning in. If you're not yet subscribed to the Busy Gardener channel, consider doing it. We'd love to have you. Hit that like thing because it makes me feel oh so good. Hit the notification bell too. That's cool. Yeah, and I'm going to continue walking around here, seeing what else I can find to eat. But yeah, hey, whether you've got 1 tree in your orchard or 500, till next time, stay busy.